So today has been a pretty uneventful day. It was mostly a lot of rest, with the exception of one pretty difficult thing. The task itself was not difficult, but just the weight that's bared with it is. This might be a little TMI, but I swore to myself that when I'd be recording these videos, I would be telling the warts and all image of everything that goes into this kind of procedure and everything that's included outside of it as well. Since I am going to be going through chemotherapy, my reproductive capabilities will more than likely be affected. There's possibility that they couldn't, from what I understand, but we have to act as if they are. So, pretty much in a 24-hour period, I had to make the decision of if I'm going to have kids or not one day. And that's a lot. There's so much weight that goes into that, obviously. The nice part is it's not like I have to force myself to have a kid because I do this. So I ended up deciding to go ahead and do it, if nothing else. One more way that I can take the power from this sickness and keep the power of choice in my hands is a good thing. So I did that. And other than that, today was a lot of resting. I was feeling pretty weak, mostly because I had to fast, because we've been waiting to get in to the hospital, which actually, as I'm recording this, I am waiting for my sister to come over and pick me up because we just got the call. So, excuse my French, but shit's about to get pretty real. And right now, I'm nervous, but at the same time, I have this strange kind of inner peace about it. A certain kind of calmness. I'm sorry, I'm shifting this camera so much. I just can't get comfortable with anything. But realistically, I've just kind of accepted at this point that things are going to be wild, life is going to be unpredictable, and we're going to have to kind of get used to that. I will say, though, actually, I think we are at the tail end of the super chaos portion. One thing that nobody ever talks about when they record videos about their cancer journey is just how much chaos there is getting set up for the journey. I have had to make decisions such as the one about the cryobank. I have had to I've been in touch with a nurse case manager from the company that runs my work's short-term disability and FMLA. And getting paperwork and stuff like that has been crazy. I'm still trying to work on getting a medical marijuana license, which I really would like to have before the chemo sets in, because I've always had a fear of vomiting. I don't know why. It's just always been something that really traumatizes me. Vomiting and needles, oddly enough, two things I'm going to get very possibly familiar with. So, but oh well. We just deal with it as it comes. Thankfully, I know I am strong and resilient and I can handle this. And again, I've got good people who are helping me. But there was that. One of the other hard parts, but something that I've just had an easier time accepting, is I've had to give up all of my autonomy. There's no way that I can keep my life running while I am going through this. So I've had to give all of my financial information to my family. They're going to help run things while I am incapacitated, which is a relief. They are thankfully going to make it so that when I come back, I'm not going to have to rebuild everything from the ground up. And I'm eternally grateful to them for that. For that and everything else that they're doing, which is no small feat. You know, one thing that a lot of people don't actually also talk about in this kind of a journey is how much guilt there is. You know, everyone talks, or a lot of people talk about survivor's guilt, and I'm sure that I'm going to have to deal with that down the line as well. But they don't talk about the guilt that comes from having to watch everybody in your life upend everything to help you. I'm not saying that I'm not worth this help, and I would happily do this for any of them. But at the same time, it's still hard to see that. Since I'm being admitted tonight, my sister's on her way to drive me over, and my mom's going to be staying in the hospital with me tonight. Again, something I'm very grateful for, but something I just feel bad has to happen. But I've kind of accepted that I'm not going to feel great emotionally as well as physically as I go through this. And that's okay. This is a very daunting task, and I would like to see somebody who was not terrified of dealing with it. I'm trying to put on the best face I can, and I also acknowledge that there are going to be days where it's not going to be so rose-tinted in the way that I'm viewing it. And that's where all the support, the messages that all of you are sending, seeing those of you who are able to come visit me once we figure out all of the cycles, which apparently does happen. Again, the chaos is about to calm down, hopefully, and it's now going to be more of a physical battle where I'm feeling like crap half the time, but apparently I'm going to be feeling okay at other parts of the time, which will be great because I am going to need all the help I can get. And that's going to be in the form of physical activity, social interaction that helps me to get out of my apartment and get physical activity, things like that. Cancer really is a team sport when you think about it. It's so demanding of everybody involved. And you know, there's just not much I can say beyond that. You know, one other thing that's very annoying to watch is how much this has already cost my family. Like, set aside all the financial crazy that's been going on, I literally had 2 appointments yesterday, and both of them were $300. So $600 on top of a bill that came in from my first visit to the emergency room, and then other pay or co-pays that we've had to do for previous appointments. I have officially hit my out-of-pocket maximum, which is great because that means a lot of the money is now going to be covered completely by insurance, but I've never done that before. So obviously it's a little bit of an odd feeling to have. It's a lot. Our healthcare system is definitely flawed, and if I were doing this by myself, I'm pretty sure my life would be over. I think I would hit a point where I would just say, I can't afford to live. Which is really sad when you think about it, because not everybody's as lucky as I am. I mean, and in that case, I'm actually very glad that this happened to me, even though I'm still incredibly frustrated with how much this is going to cost my family. A price that is worth paying, but one that we shouldn't have to. I'm sure I'm going to actually have a very angry, I won't even say angry, but just a I don't care anymore kind of political rant, because life's too short. This cancer has really given me a perspective on how I view everything. and how so many of the things that we see every day they're just not worth it. I'm not going to go into the details right now because that's a whole nother video on its own, and I'm going to need all the capability of entertaining myself, or in this case, having things to talk about on videos like this. But, it does give you perspective. I'm not grateful that I got cancer, but I am grateful that I will get to go on a journey that not a lot of people do. Like, it's definitely something very interesting. I read an article at one point that does say that cancer does give you a perspective that very few people get to have. And in a way, it actually makes you smarter than a lot of people. And that's not to say that I think I'm better than anybody else. I am constantly checking myself to make sure I'm not pulling out that C card yet, though I do intend to use it, because if I have to go through this hell, I might as well get something out of it. But it is something where I'm trying my best to keep myself humble and to understand that, yes, it's not fair that it happened to me, but at the same time, it happened to me, and whether it's fair or not is kind of beyond the point. So, some updates on what are coming my way. Once I'm admitted, I am probably not going to have anything happen tonight. They were having me fast today in the hopes that they could get me into the hospital early enough, because I'm going to have 2 more procedures I have to go through first. But unfortunately, it took so long that the nurse was saying, okay, go eat. And literally, go figure, with the way everything works out, I literally just took my second to last bite of dinner as the hospital called. So that's going to put a wrench in that one tonight. However, tomorrow morning, it sounds like I've got a bone marrow biopsy, which I hear is not pleasant, but yay! And then also a spinal fluid biopsy. With Burkitt's lymphoma, it can attack the central nervous system and the brain. So these are precautionary tests to make sure that we are getting the best picture we can before we decide to try to start treating. Once that's done, I think it's time for chemo. And that's going to be its own beast. And the benefit I have is that I'll be in the hospital and I'll have a team of people who are administering to me. And then hopefully at that point, we'll figure out everything so that we can, or so that I'll know what to expect when we go through the other rounds. Excuse me. I ate dinner way too fast because of the fact that I was hungry and I was trying to get it down so I would have more time to fast after it. But, yeah, so we got a lot going on. And thankfully, there's going to be other services that will be available to me. I will be having a therapist who specializes in patients who are dealing with cancer, who I'm talking to. I had a nice phone call with her yesterday, and that was great. She got me information on a support group that she facilitates for young adults with cancer. So that'll be really helpful. I think it'll be very helpful to be around people my age and younger who are going through similar things, and in all honesty, worse things. That way it can help me to have a little bit of the perspective that I may need. And maybe, just maybe, I'll be able to give them some positivity. It's something I'm trying to really have throughout this whole process. Again, I'm still not fully convinced that this ends well and I walk away from it. I'm not giving up, obviously, but I have to kind of keep saying that I will until I see that I can. And I guess that's kind of the battle with it. You know, I've lived a very comfortable life to the point where I've never had to deal with something like this where it's this scary. But I know that if I can survive this, I'm going to come out so much stronger for it. I have goals, I have ideas, I have things that I still have to do. My business is not done on this world. And I have to keep remembering that in order to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And at the same time, I have to also understand that I'm human, and I'm gonna need to cry and scream and be angry and upset. You know, all of those emotions, as a very smart therapist who I had been seeing earlier this year told me, they are your brain trying to take care of you. So the fear is my brain worrying about me. And for that, I'm very grateful to my brain, because that's what I was told I should think of it as. I'm gonna figure this out. My family's gonna figure this out. We're all gonna get through this together. And I mean all of us. I know that this is probably just a small portion of your day for a lot of you. And that's fine. Everyone's got to go about their own life while thinking of other people, but taking care of themselves. You know, it's the oxygen mask on the airplane. You always have to put yours on before you try to assist somebody else with theirs. So, any little thing that anyone does, if I occupy your thoughts for even 5 seconds, I'm grateful for that. But I also don't expect it. I am very grateful for the clarity that this is giving me. And I'm going to keep trying to find things that I'm grateful for from it, as opposed to just focusing on all the negative parts of it. There's going to be complications. My life just got a lot more complicated, and I'm talking beyond the cancer, because apparently there's a whole thing about life beyond cancer that people don't know about. So it's a journey. You know, as the lead singer of my favorite band, Papa Emeritus from Ghost, said in the recent movie that they filmed, when he was talking to his audience, he said, you know, sometimes life is good, and then sometimes it's not so good. So we have to enjoy the good while we have it. And I may be paraphrasing that, so don't come for me if I'm totally misquoting, and if I am, sorry, Papa. But that's the thing. At this point, I am going to try to enjoy every good moment that I have. I'm going to try to enjoy it as if it's my last, because you never know. But we will see. I'm going to do my best to be strong for everybody who's rooting for me. And I'm going to allow myself to be vulnerable and dependent, so that way others can help me to keep up the fight and get through this. We're starting the next phase. So there's a good chance that the next time you see me, I'm going to either be in the hospital, or I may be back in the apartment. I may still have my hair, and I might not. We're going to figure it out, one step at a time. As my late friend Ashley would say when quoting a artist, Emily Autumn, that we both like, one foot in front of the other. That's all we can do. One breath at a time, 1 foot in front of the other, while remembering every little bit of pain, every little bit of nausea, every bit of fatigue, It's good because of the fact that I am still alive to have it. So, we keep going. And I'm not giving up. Now, this video's gone on way too long, and I hope that it'll still be able to be posted, but I'm going to go ahead and sign off to the next chapter. Here we go.